What do characters Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Norman Bates from Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho all have in common? All three characters are based on one man, Ed Gein, a man so obsessed with his mother that he made skin suits out of dead women's bodies in order to become her. But let's start from the beginning. Ed Gein was born August 27, 1906. He grew up in Plainfield, Wisconsin in an incredibly isolated farmhouse, with an older brother named Henry, an alcoholic father named George, and a very religious, hyper-oppressive mother named Augusta. Augusta preached daily to her sons about the innate immorality of the world, the evils of drinking alcohol, and her belief that women were promiscuous, vile instruments of the devil. She obsessively cited biblical passages concerning death, murder, and divine retribution. Augusta reportedly despised her husband George and wanted a daughter. But after giving birth to a second son, she decided that Ed would not be like other males. She warned Ed that all other women besides herself were whores and prostitutes, and that dating them would lead to eternal damnation and meant being in bed with Satan himself. She also explained that to remain loyal to her, he should remain a virgin because sex was dirty and sinful. Ed was said to have been beyond obsessed with his mother, ruled by her brainwashings about human lust and carnal desire. But when Ed witnessed Augusta slicing a strung-up pig carcass down the center to release its intestines, he became aroused. Augusta strictly regulated where Ed would go and who he could talk to. If Ed tried to make friends, Augusta would scold him, saying the person came from a bad family. He was picked on by other students because he had a lazy left eye and a growth on his tongue that impaired his speech. When he would come home crying about the bullying, his drunk father would physically beat him. He likely sustained head injuries from these beatings, as he described his ears as ringing afterwards. He dropped out of school in 8th grade. After their father died of alcoholism, Ed's older brother Henry became concerned about how close Ed was to Augusta. Henry would criticize Augusta, which would upset Ed. And in May 1944, Henry was found dead on the property. The death was ruled an accident, but no autopsy was performed. Shortly thereafter, Augusta suffered a stroke which left her paralyzed. Ed was thrilled to devote his entire life to caring for her, feeding her and bathing her and tucking her in at night. During this time, Gein was allegedly fascinated by stories about grave robbing, human anatomy, head shrinking, and cannibalism that he read in various books and death cult magazines. His mother, Augusta, died in 1945. Ed was alone for the first time in his life without the rigid structure of his mother's omnipotent presence. And at this point, he began his true descent into madness. The first body he dug up was that of his dead mother. He took her head back to the house. He then began to dig up recently deceased women who physically resembled his mother, and made skin suits out of their fresh corpses, to once again be swallowed up by his mother in some kind of physical form. The officers who later made the gruesome discoveries throughout the farmhouse also found a room that was boarded up. It was his mother's room that had been perfectly preserved, the bed made and a Bible sitting on the nightstand, as it so often did when she was alive. Nothing had been touched since her death. He kept it as a shrine to her. Gein was officially diagnosed with schizophrenia and a severe Oedipus complex. No kidding. They say it's a man's world out there, but they all have mothers. Check out part 3 to hear my deep analysis of this case.